Anne-Marie from brambleberry.com, and maybe you have thought, I would like to take up a new hobby this year because, hey, creativity is essential. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make bath fizzies, but also going over what's in this Bramble Berry beginner bath fizzy kit. It comes with no colorant, so because it's all natural, and it also uses essential oils and a beautiful Himalayan salt to make this fantastic, relaxing bath product. So let me show you what's in the kit. First of all, Bramble Berry has so many beginner kits that are suitable for all kinds of crafts. Lip balms, soap making, lotions, hair masks, you name it. All of our kits come with full printed out instructions, and most of them come with their own labels too. And the labels are really easy to get because they're perforated on the back. So you cut them and then you can put them onto your packaging to create a really professional product to sell or give away. This particular kit makes 10 bath fizzies. It comes with your rose petals. And yes, it does come with a lot of crinkle paper. So if you have a gerbil or a hamster, they might love this. The kit comes with a couple different things. One is polysorbate 80, and that's the only thing in here that's not natural. Polysorbate 80 is an emulsifier that helps to bind to any oils that might be in your tub, so that way you don't get ring around the tub. So it's totally optional. You don't have to use it, but whenever I'm making bath fizzies, I always use it. Lavender 4042, Bramble Berry's most popular essential oil, and also smells so good in the bath. It's known for its relaxing aromatherapy qualities. Next, we have disc molds. So let me open this up and show you what they look like and how they work. So these molds are really cool because they work as packaging and they work as the mold. So they come with a little top and you just press your bath fizzy mixture in there and you let it dry for about 4 to 8 hours, and then you can cap. It has a little hang tag. You could hang it, or you're ready to package it to give away or just store. Next in the kit, this is essential. Witch hazel. So witch hazel is what we use as our wetting agent in the bath fizzy mixture. Because think about what you're using to make the bath fizzy mixture. You are using citric acid, which is a common food additive used to lower the pH in products, and you're using sodium bicarbonate or baking soda. And you might be thinking to yourself, wait, I remember this from when my kid was doing science experiments and they had to do a volcano, or when I was doing science experiments and had to do a volcano. That's right, citric acid and baking soda are what make that fizzing reaction. And finally, we also included pink sea salt. And the reason we have pink sea salt in this particular recipe is it makes for a very hard bath fizzy. So it makes it kind of beginner foolproof. And of course, sea salt in a bath is really good for your skin. It helps to moisturize, and it's a humectant, so it's fantastic in your bath as well. And then finally, we have coconut oil. And coconut oil is another moisturizing agent that we put into this so that your bath leaves your skin feeling supple and smooth and wonderful. In terms of tools, we did include a couple. One, we included some gloves, and you might be thinking, well, why gloves? It's because think about what baking soda does when you brush your teeth with it. Kind of scours it, right? Takes off nail polish as well. And so if you don't want your nail polish taken off, you use the gloves. Or if you have a small cut on your hand, the citric acid has such a low pH that it will kind of sting and it's not very pleasant. Then finally a dropper, and that's just so you can be really precise with all of your liquids. The very first step to this bath fizzy kit is to melt your coconut oil. And this is a microwave safe bag, or you can put it in some boiling water as well, and it'll melt your coconut oil. It's a 76-degree melt point coconut oil. The next step is to prep your molds. Prepping your molds is really easy. The reason we prep our molds ahead of time is because once you get your bath fizzy mixture wet with witch hazel and coconut oil, you want to start moving quickly, because otherwise the mixture can become gummy or dry out or just not be as easy to mold. So we want everything ready to go. Remember how we had those rose petals in the finished product? You just take a little bit of rose petal, you just plop it on the top. That's it. One thing about the rose petals, if you don't like fishing herbs out of your drain, or you kind of are like, you know what, dried rose petal herbs in my bathtub is not nearly as romantic as you think it is, you don't have to use the rose petals. I just think they look really pretty, and they match with the pink sea salt as well. So we can do some with and some without. I'll do a couple without just so you can see what that looks like. So prepping the molds. And then next, it's time to mix the dry ingredients. So one of the things that you'll want to have on hand is a very large container. And depending on how your citric acid and sodium bicarbonate arrive, you might want a sieve on hand to get rid of any clumps. Something that some crafters find is that the sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, and the citric acid can be a little irritating on their kind of nasal passages and the like. So if you have any masks that are left over from COVID, you might want to pop one on at this point, just in case you are like, you know what, I would prefer not to get some baking soda and citric acid anywhere near my nasal passages. So for this particular kit, it's all of the sodium bicarbonate and all of the citric acid. Now, as I mentioned in my intro, the reason that we have gloves is because this will scour my fingernails, but I'm not going to wear the gloves because I really want to be able to work with this mixture and kind of feel what it looks like so I get a really great consistency for you. Before I add in my sea salt, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of work through any clumps. Any clumps that you have end up making little kind of warts or little tiny outies on your Bath Fizzy. They're not a problem. They don't affect the final bar at all, but you know, it's kind of an aesthetic thing. And now we are going to do 1 cup of the pink sea salt additive. You'll be left with just a little extra sea salt, which is fine. You can use that to take a bath later. And now that all of our dry ingredients are in, it's time to work with our wet ingredients. So the wet ingredient is 1/2 cup of this melted coconut oil. And remember I talked about that optional ingredient, that polysorbate? The polysorbate is there to make sure you don't end up with any ring around the tub. So it is 12 milliliters of this polysorbate. So that's about 4 full dropperfuls. It's almost like a lotion-like consistency as opposed to just the oil sitting on the surface of the tub. So you could try some with, you could try some without, but I find it indispensable really for when I'm making Bath Fizzies. And then finally, it's gonna be all of our lavender essential oil. So that can go into your liquids. And then it is time to combine and mix. So now is when we wanna work quickly. So I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, literally and figuratively, pull my hair out of the way, and add all of this liquid in and start to mix. So if you're wearing gloves, what you'll notice is that you can't quite feel the mixture as well. I've been doing this a really long time and making Bath Fizzies since I was 14 or 15. And so I know kind of what the mixture wants to feel like. If you've ever made pie crust, and you know how when you kind of together with the pie crust, and if it sticks together, you know you're ready to press down in your pie crust, that's exactly how it is with this as well. So here, this has a lot of moisture. This is pretty good. This is sticking together, but do you see how it's kind of, it's falling apart just a little? So now is when we want to start working quickly. So we'll be spraying witch hazel while continually moving our hands around. So that way we get witch hazel throughout the entire batch and not just on one location. Because if you put it just on one location, you end up causing a fizzing reaction, even though it's witch hazel and not water. Now, if you've made Bath Fizzies before and you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, you know, the last time I made Bath Fizzies, they just really were too dry. They were too dry and they were too crumbly. That's what I missed. You are absolutely right. Witch hazel is kind of your secret weapon for that. The coconut oil does help to melt it as well. So now let's see how we're doing. So do you see how much more that's sticking together? This is a really good consistency to start pushing your mixture down into your molds. I'm gonna do just another test. This will be right here if I need it, if it starts to dry out. So, and you can kind of see, I'm starting to fizz a little bit right here. That's because it got a direct burst of that witch hazel and it is starting to fizz just a little bit. So that's why we are always kind of spraying and moving our hands around. So now we just take this, kind of put it into our hands, then we push. And you might be looking at this going, well, that looks like it's gonna be a little bit messy. And you're right, making Bath Fizzies can be a little bit messy, but cleanup is sure a snap. You just have to do a little bit of water and then the whole thing just fizzes and kind of goes away. One thing to keep in mind when you are filling these is if you're putting the top back on, you're not gonna wanna fill it all the way to the top because it's gonna need that kind of that channel so that it locks. It has a male and a female part. And so you're gonna want that channel to be able to lock in there. So keep that in mind. So push down firmly with the palm of your hand because you're going to want this Bath Fizzy to be really nicely packed in there. I'm gonna show you one with and without the rose petals. And then from here, it's time for me just to kind of fill these up and then they're ready to use right away, but they won't stay their shape. They will, if I just pop this out right now, it won't stay its nice shape. It needs to harden for about 4 hours before we're able to really keep it in its nice shape. So here we have one that's plain. And then of course, we have our one that has the rose petals. So it's totally a personal preference how you want to do it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up below. Would love to hear what other projects you'd like me to make. And of course, when you're making stuff and putting it on social media, please hashtag it BrambleOn and be sure to follow us on all the social media. We're at Bramble Berry basically everywhere. Until next time, everyone, happy creating.